To all of the new podcasters out there, never, ever send your computer into an update before you have to go live within 5 minutes. This is Chad Mitten with co-host Max Greenberg of Catfish and Ice. This is episode 251, off to a little bit of a late start here. We were supposed to start at 10 Eastern. We are 30 minutes late. So sorry, but my computer had other plans. But it's okay, because guess what? Just like the Predators need to work out the kinks, I guess the Catfish and Ice podcast does as well. So we've caught
the technology in general needs to work its stuff out. I mean,
we've caught the whatever flu bug that the Predators have right now. The Catfish and Ice podcast has caught it as well. But it's okay, because we're here. We're bringing this episode to you. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple or your podcast platform, you're like, what are these guys talking about? I'm listening on my nice little Wednesday morning drive to work. I didn't even know you were late. True. But we also stream our episodes live on YouTube and Facebook. And that's the fun of trying to go live, is these things happen. But it's okay, because we got the right intro video this week. So that's good. We did not play the Calgary Flames intro video.
We certainly did not. No.
But you know what? The spice of life is when you can laugh at yourself. And so let's just laugh at ourselves, because it's 2 weeks in a row where we've kind of had technical difficulties. But it's okay. Max, how you doing, man?
Pretty good. Just ready to get this podcast going.
Let's get it going. We are brought to you by Game Time, DraftKings, and Raycon. We'll tell you about those sponsors throughout the episode. Subscribe on YouTube if you're watching right now, or hit the follow button if you're watching on Facebook. Comment on the show. Join our live discussion. Always love it when we hear from our listeners and our viewers. All right, here's what we got on in store for you tonight. We've got to talk about, of course, last night's overtime loss at Colorado. They gutted out for a point, but, we know where this team's at right now, and they can't be taking. They got to be getting 2 points at this point. Yep. But that was I'm really interested to get the thoughts of a lot of people on how they feel coming out of that game, because the positive side of you can say, I feel pretty good. We got a point out of that. And then the negative side of you can think, no, we're already in the dumpster right now, and we just lost again. So I can't wait to hear Max's thoughts on that. I'll give you mine. Should we feel better or worse after that overtime loss in a very difficult place to play in the Mile High City? We got to give some love to Shea, WEBER, and David Poile. They've been inducted to the Hockey Hall of Fame. So we will reflect on their careers and how they were really linked together in so many ways in Predators history. We're going to touch on the remaining critical road trip. So they've already knocked out the first of a 5-game road trip. Max has already brought up a really good point that the end of this road trip kind of feels like the fork in the road of which direction this team is going to go for the rest of the season, judging on how they come out of this road trip.
Sure is.
Got to give you a Milwaukee Admirals update, because we have not done that in a while. And the team is, unlike the Predators, they are actually playing really, really strong hockey right now. So we got to give you an update on who's standing out on the roster. Of course, Zachary Leroux is one of the leaders of that team, and he's basically graduated to the NHL level. And so is Mark Del Gaizo, who was also a key cog of that team. So they're kind of having to shuffle some things. But those minor league teams, they're used to that. They're used to losing their top players who end up making it to the NHL. And then finally, some outside Predators news. Well, I want to get Max's thoughts on Dante Fabro being waived. I did cover that briefly in episode 250. But I want to really talk more about the ripple effect of what that means. I want to get Max's thoughts, because I literally have not gotten his thoughts on it yet. So I can't wait to hear from him on that. And then some outside Preds news is, of course, Alex Ovechkin chasing Wayne Gretzky for the all-time goal record. He's getting closer and closer. He's having a crazy efficient season right now with gray hair and all. He's the second. But besides Jaromir Jagr, who's still playing hockey, and he's like, I don't even know how old that dude is now, but he's playing overseas and stuff. But you look at Ovechkin with the gray hair, and he's still. I mean, we just saw him. He just scored the game-winning goal against the Predators recently. but me and Max are going to rank our top 5 active NHL players in terms of not necessarily who they are right now this season, but just all-time great.
Yep.
But
That's
they
right.
still have to be playing right now.
Yep.
So it takes out all the retired players. So I got my top 5. We'll get Max's top 5.
I'll have mine as well.
SMASHVILLE Stat of the Week we'll also throw at you. So it's going to be a rapid-fire episode tonight. This is our 3rd episode in less than a week. So we're trying to up the content for you here, really get it back into turbo drive here for you because we did miss a couple weeks where we weren't putting out a ton of content because life happens. But we're trying to get back into the swing of things. So this is our 3rd episode in less than a week. So we're going to go rapid fire tonight for you, but we definitely wanted to get you another episode. Our listeners have been amazing, and you guys have really been responding, and we really love all of you for sticking with us through all these episodes. We want to say hi to Johnny, who says Showtime. He's watching on YouTube.
Yeah,
Sorry,
and he was waiting. He was texting me during the whole
Johnny,
time.
my apologies for starting late, 30 minutes late. I hate being late in real life, and I definitely hate being late when we're scheduled to go live. But we are here. We're going to do it. And so with that said, Max, we're going to give you the floor because you missed the last episode. We didn't have you with us because I threw it up there quick. But Preds and Avs, let's break it down first. And it's the opening face-off here of 251 of Catfish and Ice. And I want you to premise your monologue here, if you will, of do you feel better or worse after an overtime loss to the Avalanche, 3-2 final score?
To be honest with you, I'm neutral. It really is not changed.
You can't do that.
No,
you
well,
take neutral.
I'll do some sort of rationale for all this.
Fair enough.
So obviously, the Preds came off the 4-0 win against the Utah Hawks. I'm going to talk barely about that, but I'll say a little bit. So in that game, the Preds didn't have a ton of 5-on-5 offense. Defensively, they were really sound though. So that was pretty good. You know, you would have hoped for more offense, but defensively they did well, which is something they have not done that well this year. There was that. And then the game last night, it was honestly kind of back and forth for me. I thought the first period was really, really good. Second period didn't start off so well, but ended much better. Third period, the Avalanche still had pressure, but we got some more chances. So the Preds did some good things throughout the whole game. Obviously ended up losing in overtime on a brutal Brady Shea turnover. Honestly thought he played pretty well himself yesterday, but that turnover was a backbreaker, obviously. Basically, the way I feel in terms of why my feeling is unchanged at this point is because, you know, I liked a lot of the things the Preds did in that game. There were a lot of positives to take away. The Preds got some goals at 5-on-5. Roman Josi had an unbelievable assist to Colton Sissons on that second goal.
Yeah, I want to talk about that.
That was like vintage Roman Josi right there.
Yeah.
But you know, I like a lot of the ways the Preds play. They didn't play a perfect game. At the same time, though, you still got to put those games away. You know, you got to win. You got to win those games, especially when the Preds are where they are right now. You know, there's still some positives in the game, but also some things that you'd like to see better. And overall, you got a loss. So overall, I would say my feeling right now is unchanged. And you know, maybe I feel a little better. The Preds can get more momentum going their way with the way they played yesterday. But overall, as far as the team, I'm pretty much unchanged. I need to see more.
Well, I'm going to break down a lot of stuff that happened in this game. It was a very exciting game. I hate that they lost. A lot of stuff I got to get into the officiating a little bit.
I agree, but both sides.
And let me preface this. I'm not saying the Predators lost because of the officiating. I'm just going to touch on a couple really key moments where officiating did have an impact on the game. Max brings up the gorgeous assist from Roman Josi. I thought it was one of his best games of his career, of the season individually.
Absolutely.
He looked like you just said, Max, vintage Roman Josi. He did. But with all of that said, I love the start for Luke Evangelista. That was a big goal for him. Just only his second goal of the season, so that was good thing from him. UC Saros continues to be
unbelievable,
locked in beast mode. I hate that he has to take the loss that way on a breakaway, but I feel worse, Max.
I get it.
I'm done with moral victories. I already told you that. No, I'm done with them.
100%.
Like, moral victories don't count anymore. Like, not with the way this team's playing. It would be different if if you just take this loss in a vacuum and you don't count anything else that's happened, you just look at this loss as its own body of work. If someone put this game in front of you and didn't tell you anything else that's happened this season, you would watch that game, and I would watch that game in that situation and say, damn, the Preds played a good game. It sucks. Somebody's got to lose. It's good you got a point. You had two heavyweights maybe going toe-to-toe, but that's not how this works. I know who the Predators are because I've watched them all season, and they're not in a good place right now. Even with the 4-0 shutout victory over Utah, that's one game against a very average Utah hockey club.
That's trending downward.
So spare me on that one too. So yeah, it's a moral victory if you want to count those at this point. But I can't look at this without thinking of all the other games that have happened this year. Yeah. And so with that, if I take the whole body of work of this season, I feel worse because they took another loss. The only solace that you can get from this is at least they finally got a point. They didn't take a regulation loss. They didn't come out completely empty-handed. And if you're saying moral victory, sure, they did go to toe-to-toe with the Avs. But again, the Avs are nowhere close to full strength. You look at their injury list going into this game, crazy. Think about it, their full strength going into this game. Who knows? It's hypothetically speaking. But, to look at it both ways, yes, the Predators played a really competent game. I like their defense for the most part. I loved UC Saros' game. I thought it was Roman Josi's best individual performance of the season. There are definitely a lot of bright spots that you can take from this game. It's good they got a point at least, but again, here's the biggest issue I have with this team right now, and it's showing up every game. They are not fast.
No.
They are slow. How many times did I have to watch the Avalanche just put it to them? The Preds were chasing the game. Now, when I thought that this game was not going to even make it to overtime when the Avs went up 2-1, I thought that's it. They're going to lose this game in regulation. They can't keep up with the Avs. They can't keep up with the team speed. They just can't do it. They're chasing the game. They're just backs against the wall. But luckily, Roman Josi did a tightrope along the blue line to somehow keep the puck in the zone, and gorgeous pass to find Colton Sissons, who basically had a slam dunk goal. So that's what saved the overtime point right there, along with UC Saros' heroics. Let's get to the officiating. First, let's start with Zachary Leroux. I thought that was a really ticky-tack penalty that they called on Leroux. You know the play I'm talking about, right, Max?
100%.
What do you think about that penalty, first of all? Because I thought that was ticky-tack. It was a very you can call it, but it's like, are you going to really call it in that situation?
I thought the call before on Steven Stamkos was even worse. Where was the penalty? Did you see Andrew Burnett's face after he's like, what? And then there were some other calls. I thought for both sides it was really bad. And honestly, when they got the call when Michael McCarron got hit, it seemed like I honestly don't even know how. I know you can review majors, but I didn't know you can review and then assign a 2-minute penalty. What?
And that was really the turning point of the game, where I thought the crowd was kind of quiet in this game up until that point.
Yeah, they were letting the refs have it.
After that happened, I felt like the crowd got a shot of. Like they all collectively took a shot of espresso or something, because they got amped up. They were pretty quiet. They were. That was not a very energetic crowd to start the game. It was kind of like the game was just kind of bumbling along or whatever. And then when that happened, and look, let's talk about it. Michael McCarron, did he embellish on that play? It's really hard to tell. It was such a bang play. I can see where Avs fans are coming from, that they think he embellished it. I can also see where you might think, no, the dude really did take kind of a spill there. But judging by how the refs called the game, the whole game, okay, they called some ticky-tack stuff. And so if anything, it was a makeup call. I don't know. I'm not saying it was a great call either. That's a let them play type of play, probably in most scenarios, if you're calling it a perfect game. But what do the Preds do? They completely turn in a pitiful power play response to that play. I mean, it was awful. They couldn't even connect on a pass, much less get in the zone and set up and test Alexander Georgiev, who's been one of the worst goalies statistically in the league. But of course, he turns up for this game because that's what happens to the Nashville Predators. They always get goalies at their worst, and they decide to play the game of their lives when they play the Predators. But Georgiev had a great game. Saros had a great game. That game had the feel of being a way higher scoring game than it actually was.
Yeah, and it's the Preds couldn't get a win out of it, and it's again some good things, some disappointing things, but I think the most concerning thing like you just said, I think the most concerning things from that game were that the power play, you couldn't beat their penalty kill, or you couldn't beat Georgiev nearly as much, and both for the Avs have been terrible this year.
A bad penalty kill, mind you. The Avalanche are not known for the penalty kill. They have one of the worst penalty kills.
And kind of to your point, that goes back to the goaltender too.
And let's talk about the elephant in the room, and that's Brady Shea's giveaway. I know you mentioned this before we went live on X, that Brady Shea actually had a pretty good game.
Yeah.
But he's been the topic of conversation. We brought him up in episode 249 about who's been the most disappointing free agent that we acquired this past offseason. And your answer was Brady Shea. My answer was Jonathan Marchessault. Marchessault's kicked it up a notch the last couple games. He's looked a lot better.
He was pretty active last night too, even though he didn't get a goal.
He was. But Shea, even if he did have a strong game, just everyone wants to talk. We're about to talk about Dante Fabro a little bit more and how he was waived and claimed by Columbus. But that kind of looked like everyone always gets on Fabro for being that type of player that just gives away the puck at the worst possible times. Well, Brady Shea had one of those moments. He had one of those brain farts where he just lost an edge, lost the puck. You got a one-on-one breakaway in overtime, and the rest is history. Saros could not make the save. Not to mention he took a
penalty on the breakaway too.
Saros could not make the save, and there you have it. So, tough stuff there for sure. But I feel worse coming out of this game. Max says he's a little indifferent, but maybe a little bit, what'd you say, a little bit worse maybe?
I don't know. I would say I'm a firm neutral, to be honest with you.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Sorry, changing up the windows here. Neutral is fair enough. So with that said, upcoming road trip, Max, doesn't get easier. I mean, you got Edmonton up next, another team that's not performing up to their level, but they kind of feel like a sleeping giant, almost just like the Avalanche are a sleeping giant. So you got to go play at Edmonton. I mean, Edmonton just owns them recently. Right. We all know about Leon Draisaitl. I don't have a lot of
last time.
I don't have high hopes. I really don't.
Yeah.
I hate to say this until I'm proven wrong. I just don't have a lot of high hopes right now for winning this team. And then after that, we got who else is up on the road trip after that? I know we got Seattle,
Vancouver, and Seattle.
We got Vancouver. Who was Winnipeg? You said?
I said Calgary, Vancouver, and Seattle. So three more teams after Edmonton. So four more. Total.
I mean, Calgary's out playing better than people thought they would play, but maybe I'll call that a toss-up if the Preds play their game and they decide to show up. And then Vancouver, I mean, who knows? Tough place to play. And then you ended at Seattle. I mean, I feel like they definitely got to win 3 of the last 4 outright, get points.
Yeah.
2 points for sure. So even if you lose to Edmonton, maybe if they can win the last 3, maybe you can call it a winning road trip. That would mean you got points in 4 or 5, and you got a possible points of you only lost 3 out of the possible points of the road trip. I would call that a win. I just don't think they're going to beat Edmonton on the road. I really don't
think so either. I don't think so either.
All right. So let's move along here. I want to get, Max, more of your thoughts because I gave my thoughts about Dante Fabro being waived. But in episode 250, when I went solo for that episode, I did not know yet if Fabro would be claimed or not. I said it was a very 50-50 toss-up whether he would or would not get claimed. Even Elliot Friedman came out and said that he thought that Fabro would not be claimed because of his $2.5 million cap hit. But indeed, Columbus takes him. I think it's a really, really smart pickup by Columbus. Great pickup by them. Makes total sense. A young rebuilding team with a lot of young talent. And they build depth for their blue line with Fabro. He's in the last year of his deal. They've got so much cap space to work with that it's not even a big deal for them to take on the $2.5 million. And let's say he comes in and just really performs at a high level for the rest of this season. Columbus is playing with house money, and they can probably work out a pretty fair and reasonable deal to keep Fabro there, because it's not like Fabro has a ton of leverage with his future right now with his agent. So he's probably going to take whatever deal he can get from Columbus at that point. So low risk, potentially high reward for Columbus. And it's a good landing spot for Fabro too, because he doesn't have to play in Milwaukee. I'm sure he's happy about that. He doesn't have to watch his career go backwards. He can stay in the NHL, no pressure. And he can revitalize his NHL career in a new spot. So I think it's a great match made in heaven for Columbus and Fabro. But let's focus more on the Preds here. What's the ripple effect, Max? And how do you feel about the fact that yet another first-round pick has been lost for nothing by this organization?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's disappointing, just that in itself. And it's also disappointing asset management by Trotz to, not get anything. I find it hard to believe that absolutely no one would trade for Fabro, even if it's like a 5th, 6th, 7th round pick. It's crazy he couldn't get anything for him. The fact that he had to go on waivers, that part of it's really tough to see happen. But I think it's a pretty complicated thing with Fabro. And look, in this day and age where it's a lot of stuff is clickbait, a lot of, we want like polarizing, exciting kind of takes, maybe what I'm going to say is not the most exciting thing. And, people might roll their eyes, and maybe it's possible that the Preds just have completely terrible decision makers on their team. I'm open to that possibility, and time will tell. I'm not saying how things that right now is a definite answer, but let's look at the facts here. Fabro's future with the Predators had been in limbo for years. This was not even the first or second year where people are asking themselves, why is this guy not playing? Like, what's going on? His name had been in trade rumors for years. And, he didn't earn the trust of the previous coaching staff, and he sure as hell didn't earn the trust of this one. And when I look at a situation like that, at a certain point, my thought is, what do they know that we don't? There must have been something deeper going on. And again, maybe the Preds were totally in the wrong. I don't know. I'm not in the locker room. I'm certainly dying to know what the hell happened. But I'm just sitting here thinking something probably deeper happened here. And this is one of those things where I'm really reserving judgment till I see. And let me also say, I'm not going to watch Fabro have like a stretch of games and then this season be like, oh, the Preds made a huge mistake. I want to see prolonged success, over years. And if I see that, then I'll admit, okay, the Preds completely screwed up. But I don't know. I think there might be something at play here. And who knows? And it could, maybe the Preds wrong, or it could be a situation where they really tried to make it work and they couldn't. I don't know. But again, something's up here is all I'm saying.
Well, I saw a lot of comments about why did they waive Luke Shin? Why didn't they waive Luke Shin? Luke Shin's not going anywhere. You can hate the guy all you want, maybe not hate him, but you can really just be ticked off that he's in the lineup and you don't like his style of play and you think he's a traffic cone out there that doesn't do much. But he serves the purpose that this organization wants from him. That's all I got for you. He was never going to be waived. He was never going to be even healthy scratched, much less waived. in terms of why Fabro wasn't traded for something, well, it's very clear. I mean, Barry Trotz isn't an idiot. He knows what the hell he's doing. It's very clear, although I still want to really hear his comments on this.
Yeah.
It's very clear that the trade interest was not there. The teams were not beating down the door to get Dante Fabro in a trade. One, because they weren't willing to part with anything that Trotz cared about. But two, and this is the big one, there wasn't a team out there that was willing to trade for his $2.5 million cap hit. And I'm sure there were plenty of GMs out there who thought, let's wait and see if he hits waivers first.
And let me also say that, like, in terms of the Preds, like, asset management here, I get it's poor asset management to lose Dante Fabro for nothing. I'm not arguing any of that. But let's look at the Preds draft capital situation. The Preds have 3 first-round picks upcoming, 2 second-round picks, and a third-round pick. I think that's what it is. Either way, they have 6 picks in the top 100 picks coming up in the next draft. They are not suffering for a lack of draft picks. And the one true devil's advocate, maybe if there's a few places devil's advocate I could play here, but another place of devil's advocate I could really play it here is the Preds are not suffering from a lack of assets. They didn't trade Dante Fabro. Like, yes, in a vacuum, it looks bad for the asset management aspect of it, but it could also be a situation where Trotz was like, look, I got to get rid of him, and we don't absolutely need the draft picks for him.
Let's say hi to our friend of the show, even though he's a Blues fan. Let's say hi to the show. I think, Mason, who runs Blues Fan Reacts, his YouTube channel. He's been on the show before. Good guy. He says rumor on the Blues side is, had Columbus not had priority, the Blues would have put a claim on him, meaning Dante Fabro. Very, very interesting.
I would love to know how many other teams did put a claim on him. I'm
glad he didn't end up in the division. That's for sure. Because I just don't like that bad fortune. And what's up, Mason? Blues fan. Your Blues, Mason. They're hanging around. They're not. Yeah, you're gonna have to come on the podcast in the future and give me the lowdown on your St. Louis Blues, because for me they're like a riddle. I don't really know what to think of them. I don't know if they're good. I don't know if they're bad. I don't know what to call them at all. But anyway, let's wrap up this talk on Fabro. Max, what else you got to say on it?
As far as, I'll just talk about how it affects the roster. As far as how it affects the roster, I mean,
Mark Del Gaizo.
I mean, my question was, does it really? He wasn't really playing. And yes, to your point, that does display increased levels of trust in a guy like Mark Del Gaizo. Hopefully that means Spencer Stassy's returning soon. I'm not going to.
That's a good point.
That's on there. Whatever Spencer Stassy's doing is his own thing.
This team's operating without a 7th defenseman right now. I mean, as the season grinds along, you're going to need to figure out who your 7th defenseman is. Yeah. I mean, you can't just keep going through a season running with just 6 defensemen. There's going to get guys who are going to get nicks and bruises and going to need a day-to-day maintenance day. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. So who is the 7th defenseman? If we can't speculate on stats because we just really don't know.
Right.
I mean, they don't really have a lot of options.
Like Trotz was talking early in the offseason about Adam Wilsby potentially. So that's maybe.
and we're going to do an Admirals update a little bit later in this episode. But I mean, I really worry about if any of these defensive prospects, although there are some good ones, don't get me wrong, but are any of these defensive prospects truly ready? But again, you're thinking, if you do get that 7th defenseman, can they take the Fabro role where they're just basically riding the pine most of the games? They just randomly play a game here or there. It really all depends on what happens with the direction of this Preds season right now. Yeah. If the Preds just keep plummeting and they fall so far behind in the standings that the season's a lost cause, and Trotz truly does decide to enact his rebuild process that he's already hinted at, well, then you are going to start seeing some guys from Milwaukee get some opportunities, especially now that Fabro's gone. You might see Wilsby and some others, but they don't have a ton of options right now, Max, that I think are truly NHL ready. It's kind of like something's got to happen. Obviously, the the most hopeful thing to happen out of this is that Spencer Stastny is able to come back, and we hope whatever he's going through, we hope he can come back.
I am happy though that we got $2.5 million off the books for a guy that wasn't playing. That I'll be happy about.
If you got to find the silver lining, and that's definitely a silver lining, that is a very fair one to come up with for sure. Is definitely.
And let me also say, I'm glad this whole situation is over. We don't have to sit here anymore and talk about. And again, I'm not happy how it happened, but I'm just happy we no longer have to sit here and be like, okay, what's going to happen to Fabro? It's done. It's over. We can move on. Finally.
Wish the best to Dante Fabro, of course.
Yep.
All right, so we're about to move on here with episode 251 of Catfish on Ice. We're going to do the Smashville stat of the week here in a little bit because we got to bring that back. We're going to also talk about Milwaukee Admirals update. We got to talk about Shea Weber and David Poile as they enter the Hall of Fame. Good for them. Awesome for them. Feel great for them. So we got some stuff to get into for sure. But before we do that, let's tell you about Game Time. Game Time, there's nothing better than the sensory excitement of watching hockey live, like the chill of the ice or the slam of the boards. My first ever game I attended, I was not even a hockey fan. I didn't even know the rules. I didn't know what icing was. I didn't know what offsides was. All I thought was I was showing up to see some guys getting in a fight because that's all I knew about hockey. But instantly I fell in love with hockey. And I know there's still plenty of sports fans out there who maybe have not gone to their first hockey game. Maybe they've watched a few games on TV. But they're thinking about going to their first live hockey game. The Game Time app is there for you with awesome deals on tickets, and they've got all these great features that can be there for you. And it's not just hockey, but all events, including concerts and shows. And they have a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through the thousands of tickets. So when the Preds get back from this road trip, let's hope they're in a good place and they got the fans amped up again, and you got to get yourself to a Preds game later this month after they get back from this road trip. I thought the Smashville fans were awesome in the Utah game. They could have easily showed up and been just quiet and maybe not even came at all. But for those fans, they did an awesome job showing up for that team. And this team does need us now more than ever. And part of being a fan is not being a fair weather fan. But of course, there's the super deals out there and the tiers of deals that can help you out. And you can get through the experience with Game Time and Game Time tickets for things other than sports, but also for concerts as well. I know we got a lot of fans who love to go to concerts. So with that said, some of my favorite app features is the customize your spot, which can really help you pick it the way you want to do it. And also another thing I loved about the Game Time app is getting to see the seat views before you buy. You can feel like you're in the stadium before you buy those tickets. You can see exactly what your view is going to look like, especially if you're going to a venue you've never been to before. I've got my away hockey game list, bucket list of road venues that I want to go to. I've knocked out a lot of the East Coast. I got to start knocking out the West Coast hockey arenas to see the Predators play. I'm going to use Game Time app to see where I'm going to be sitting before I go into these venues, these stadiums, and these arenas for the first time. They've also got curated deals to make it easier to find the best price on great seats, the super deals, lowest price guarantee, and event cancellation protection and job loss protection as well. Of course, again, the Game Time app picks. Curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The seat views get a panoramic view, the lowest price guarantee, the Game Time ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So with that said, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code THPN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It is game time. Let's show some love to some all-time franchise greats, Shea Weber and David Poile, inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame. And let's start with Shea. First of all, these two guys are tied at the hip because a lot of your old school Predators fans, maybe your newer Predators fans don't know this, especially if they're not up on their history. I know Johnny, our super fan who is here for every episode, and he was in the chat earlier. Maybe he's still watching. Can throw some comments in here to talk more about it. But hockey was dying in Nashville when they were threatening to move to Hamilton, Ontario, and if they didn't average a certain amount of attendance. And that was right around the time when Pekka Rinne and Shea Weber saved this franchise as the first drafted superstars. This franchise had some outside players, either through the expansion draft, of course, with David Legwand, but they had gotten Paul Kariya, they had signed like Steve Sullivan. They had signed some players, but in terms of drafting, it was a slow process before. Shea Weber was one of the first superstar draft picks that ended up being who he was. And so Shea Weber, of course, had a rough end to his NHL career due to injuries, but he was one of the first NHL superstars, homegrown superstars of the Nashville Predators franchise. I hate what he's gone through and how his career ended prematurely. But really happy to see that dude make the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah. And, David Poile, too. I mean, for as much as David Poile didn't do so great in his first or his last few years, he's one of the guys who, brought, hockey back to the way Nashville is. A lot of his moves, as you said, drafting Shea Weber, him and Pekka Rinne were two of the, biggest icons in Nashville. And then all the moves he made to get the Preds to the 2017 Stanley Cup Finals. I mean, all this stuff happened, and thanks to David Poile and Shea Weber. And without them, like you said, who knows where hockey is? It may not even be here anymore.
I mean, they had to average a certain amount of attendance, and I'm not saying he's the only reason. Of course, the fans were the ones that showed up and supported that team at that time, but they needed some players to cling on to. And Shea Weber with his insane slap shot that he possessed. Then, of course, Pekka Rinne comes along as well. But, I mean, it was very much not for sure thing that NHL hockey and the Nashville Predators were going to stay in Nashville at that point. And they definitely did send the franchise into a whole nother level of competing every year in the Stanley Cup playoffs. David Poile, of course, gets a ton of criticism among the fan base, and I'm not saying it's unfair. It's totally fair to criticize him for not bringing a Stanley Cup to this franchise. I totally get that. And not only not win a Stanley Cup, but you only made it to one Stanley Cup final. You only made it to one Western Conference final. So, yeah, with all of those teams who made the playoffs and you only made it to one conference final, that is definitely a blemish on David Poile's record. But at the same time, he's the most winningest general manager in NHL history. Yeah. So he was a lock to make the Hall of Fame, whether you like it or not. And he was the team builder who made sure Nashville stayed in the NHL stayed in Nashville as a professional hockey team. So you can blemish him for the not winning the Stanley Cup, but you can also give him credit for also what he built here, and he built it to stay. You would love it that he could have gotten a Stanley Cup. He'll be the first to tell you that, So I'm very happy for both of these all-time Nashville Predators greats to get the Hockey Hall of Fame. Poile was a lock. Weber should have also been a lock. I'm glad that they're in there. I'm glad they're getting the recognition they deserve. It's cool to see those two get in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's move along here. Episode 251, Catfish and Ice, Rapid Fire. We're about to do our top 5 all-time NHL players, but they have to be active right now. And, of course, Alex Ovechkin is chasing history right now. He's chasing Wayne Gretzky for all-time goals leader. So you got that going. First of all, Max, what's your thing with Alex Ovechkin? Would you put, before you do your top 5, how impressed are you by what he's doing just this season alone?
I mean, you said it earlier. I mean, he literally has gray hair in his head, his beard, everywhere, and he's still scoring at a crazy pace. I mean, how could you not be thoroughly impressed with what he's doing still?
Right now, he's at 863 career goals. So he is just 31 goals behind Wayne Gretzky right now. 31 goals. He's played 47 fewer games than Wayne Gretzky. So when it's all said and done, he'll pass Wayne Gretzky in games played. So you got to think it's inevitable that he's going to pass Wayne Gretzky.
Probably.
It's a matter of when, not if now, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so with that said, let's do our top 5 here. Let's do our top 5 players, but we're going to save you some suspense here first. And we're first going to tell you about our next sponsor because we're doing rapid fire. We got to make sure we pay the bills here and tell about all of our sponsors.
You're muted, Chad. We can't hear you.
How about now? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Let's tell you about DraftKings. The quest for the Stanley Cup starts now. The puck's dropping on the 2024-25 season. Get in on all the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It's super easy for first-timers to get started. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook, select your team, and place your first bet. And if you're new to DraftKings, listen up, new customers. Bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPENY or text HOPENY. That's 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available. For problem gambling, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Blue Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice. Copyright NHL 2024, all rights reserved. And we have to tell you what's going on in the Wednesday slate of hockey to get you ready. And if you're thinking about getting the DraftKings Sportsbook app, you got some games that you can go ahead and think about. For Wednesday, November 13th, the Toronto Maple Leafs and Alex Ovechkin's Washington Capitals are playing with the Capitals as the home team. Very close matchup there. That would be one I would really like to watch and have circled for my viewing pleasure. You got the Capitals as a slight home favorite at -130. The Red Wings at the Penguins, with the Penguins as -142 favorites at home. Carolina Hurricanes at the Utah Hockey Club, with the Hurricanes as -180 road favorites. And you got Vegas at Anaheim, with Vegas as the road favorites, -192. And the Kings at the Avalanche, the team we just saw, with the Avalanche as the home favorites at -142. So you got a lot of really close matchups on the DraftKings Sports app for your Wednesday NHL action. So do that with what you will. And, of course, you get the bonus bets with our promo code THPN. So now, with that said, I'm going to put my top 5 active NHL players right now. They got to be playing and where I have them ranked all time. That's how we're doing our top 5 here tonight in a relation to, of course, Alex Ovechkin and his greatness all time, because we truly are watching history right now. And so we have to soak it all in and enjoy it while we can, because you just don't get to see this every day. And, Ovechkin, he's in a spot right now where he can play as long as he really wants to, I feel like. I mean, the guy's not slowing down. He's making that very clear. So here's my list. Without further ado, my top 5 active NHL players. Max will pick apart my list. Tell me how you pick it apart for me. There it is. This is Max's first time seeing it. So I do have Ovechkin at the top. And it's always a battle between Alex Ovechkin and Sidney Crosby. Who's 1 and who's 2? There's usually no argument when it comes to the all-time debate of whether it's Alex Ovechkin and Sidney Crosby in terms of our current times and our active players. But I put Ovechkin number 1 in terms of his all-time greatness. I put Sidney Crosby number 2. I put Connor McDavid number 3. It was really hard, honestly. I thought about putting that top 3. I kind of had to think about it, but I put McDavid number 3. I put Nathan McKinnon at number 4, and he's got a lot of tread left on the tires. So the jury is still out. I'm a big believer in Nathan McKinnon. That dude is I like to call him a cyborg. I think my old co-host, Rich Howe, used to first coin that term, that Nathan McKinnon looks like a cyborg from Terminator, the way that dude plays. If anyone remembers Terminator 2, T2, when the police officer cyborg was like running so fast that he could chase cars down, that's what I feel like Nathan McKinnon is when I have to watch him rush up the ice and defenders are just backpedaling, doing whatever they can to stop him. I'll give credit to Brady Shea, and even I think Alexander Carrier had some good moments where they kind of stopped McKinnon's rush, but he's just
what can you do?
Unstoppable. And my number 5 is a current Preds player, and I'm sure Lightning fans are like, that's not fair that you put him in a Preds uniform in that graphic. He should be in a Lightning uniform if we're going all-time greats. But you know what? It's a Preds podcast, so I'm going to put him in a Preds uniform on my graphic. Sorry to break it to you, Lightning fans. But Steven Stamkos makes it my number 5 when it comes to active all-time NHL players that are playing right now. I put Stamkos at number 5. Might surprise some people that I put him behind McKinnon. But I just think McKinnon is got so much more ahead of him that he's eventually going to surpass Stamkos in a lot of categories.
Yeah, my list was a little different from you. So first of all, of course, I had Crosby and Ovechkin 1 and 2. I had Crosby number 1.
Okay.
I have Crosby number 1. And look, I know it's team sport. I know all that stuff. But, I put a lot of emphasis on, how much you won in the NHL on my list. And Crosby, I think the fact that Crosby beat Ovechkin so many times in the playoffs should be taken into account.
That's fair.
And I also think as well, and maybe people disagree with this rationale, but Crosby impacted the actual, his impact on the ice as being a center versus Ovechkin being a winger matters to me too. So that's where I put. So that's why a good reason why I have Crosby ahead of Ovechkin. Number 3 on my list, and I couldn't believe that you wouldn't put him on there, Chad, and apparently others don't too. I put Patrick Kane on there. Number 3.
Okay. Patrick Kane, you put him at number 3?
Yes.
So who are you leaving out of your top 5?
You'll see in a second.
All right.
Yeah, I put Patrick Kane number 3, and that's hard to do because I don't like the guy. He played for the Blackhawks.
Take your bias out of it. Yeah, we don't want bias.
But, the guy is the talent level for him was off the charts. He won the Hart Trophy winner, Conn Smythe winner. He did so much contribute to 3 Stanley Cups with the Blackhawks. I can't ignore that. The guy is an outstanding player. He's still playing, obviously. Number 4, I put Connor McDavid. Of course, he doesn't have that cup yet, but he won the Conn Smythe as a member of the losing team. That's pretty crazy.
And let's make sure everyone realizes this list is subject to change because when you look at McDavid,
so clear that McDavid is the best in the game right now. He's going to be one of the best.
These players are at very different trajectories in their career as well. Yeah. In terms of McDavid, he's got a lot more time left in the NHL than Ovechkin and Crosby. So we can always revisit this list. We're just going off of what's their all-time great status right now, full body of work.
Yep.
Not current, like how good they are this season alone. I'm talking about their full body of work and where they're at all-time active. I know that's a lot of things you got to juggle there. And that's how we're ranking.
My number 5, I think, is going to shock you, and it might shock some people. I put Evgeny Malkin at number 5. Yeah. I thought
Preds fans are not going to like you. You put 2 Penguins fans in your top, or Penguins players in your top 5, and then you put Patrick Kane in there.
Yeah,
you're not making friends with Preds fans tonight.
I'm reporting. I'm giving you my. If I'm doing this with a neutral view, all that's my list. And I thought about Nathan McKinnon number 5. I really did, but 2 things were a deal breaker for me. He doesn't have a Hart Trophy, and more importantly, when they won the Cup, he didn't win the Conn Smythe Trophy. And also in that final against the Avalanche and against the Lightning, he wasn't He wasn't bad.
Wait a minute.
He wasn't the driving force.
You're gonna hold the Hart Trophy. Wait. You're gonna hold the Hart Trophy against him when it's Connor McDavid every year,
and the Conn Smythe.
And I got Connor McDavid ahead of McKinnon on my list, so I totally understand the importance of a Hart Trophy. But all right, I love your list, man. It's not this is subjective. I love the creativity. Let's catch up to some comments real quick. We got a lot of people coming in here. Kyle Pereira, who does the prospects. He's been on the show before. I love bringing him on draft time. Guy really knows his stuff. He knows hockey. Friend of the show. So Kyle jumps in here and says, Crosby number 1 for me. Yep. I really value Kyle's opinion because he just knows how to evaluate talent and players. His top 5 is Crosby, McDavid, Ovechkin, Stamkos, McKinnon. So that we got the same 5 players, but
different order,
ranked completely differently. So good stuff there. Thank you, Kyle, for your Blues fan reacts. Mason jumps in and says his top 5 is McDavid number 1, Ovechkin number 2, Crosby number 3, McKinnon number 4, and Austin Matthews number 5. So he leaves Stamkos out of his top 5 compared to me. So that's good. And then, of course, Kyle, he covers mostly Tampa Bay Lightning. And so he puts up Stamkos is a legend of the sport. He transcended a market that, let's be honest, didn't have much business being a big market. As a Lightning fan, it's true. That's why he's at 4 for me. And then also Kyle says Giroux, Malkin, Taves, Kane, and Erik Karlsson also deserve to be in the combo.
I am shocked by how many of you guys are leaving Patrick Kane out of your top 5.
I mean, if we expand the list to top 10, I'll give Patrick Kane this. He's arguably the best American-born player of all time. Probably is the best American player of all time. American-born.
Yeah. But again, subjective. So, yeah.
Very subjective. But fun stuff there. But I just – and there's bias in here too. I've been an Ovechkin fan just personally for a long time. So when you do these top 5 lists, it's not scientific. It's totally subjective like Max says. There's a lot of bias that does play into it. Even if you try not to be biased, it creeps in there. And I'll never, ever push against this. Alex Ovechkin's always been one of my favorite players from a young age when I first started watching hockey and I started picking some of my favorite players. I always loved Ovechkin. But I did try to keep it very – here's why I put Ovechkin number 1. He's never had ridiculously great teams around him. He's had some good teams. I'm not saying the Capitals have been completely horrible teams, but he plays a big part in that. And I love Ovechkin's physical game that he plays. Way more physical than Sidney Crosby ever was. Now, of course, I'm not saying anything bad about Sidney Crosby. He's second on my list, so it's not like I'm blasting the guy. Of course, he's one of the all-time greats. But I guess, again, the bias comes in here that I value players who play physical. And Ovechkin, it has to be one of the best physically gifted and offensively gifted combo players of all time. You could argue that. And just looking at the hits, Alexander Ovechkin has in his career, we're using Quant Hockey right now to look up these all-time numbers. You can really look up any stat you want on Quant Hockey when it comes to your list. So you look at the hits, 3,671 career hits for Ovechkin. You compare that to Crosby. Crosby has, let's scroll down. Crosby has 1,134 career hits. So almost 2,000 fewer hits than Ovechkin for his career. Not saying that's the only thing to rank him ahead of it. I'm just saying, like, players have different skill sets. They have different things. And so for me, Ovechkin, it was power play. It was physicality. It was not having as good of a supporting cast around him. So that's just how I do it. When it's all said and done, McDavid could end up making it past Crosby and Ovechkin because we just don't know. His story is not close to being finished yet. So fun stuff there. Max, I really love your list, though, man. I love that you went out there and you just didn't give a cookie-cutter response.
Say what I think. It doesn't have to be popular.
Not winning. We're not trying to win a popularity contest here, people.
No, not at all.
Fun stuff there. All right, we're about to wrap up episode 251 of Catfish and Ice. I do want to bring you the Smashville stat of the week, and that is, of course, Philip Forsberg, and he is the topic this week of the Smashville stat of the week. And I want to get into just where he stands all time among Nashville Predators record books. I mean, we already know that him and Roman Josi are pretty much running away with the all-time records right now in a lot of categories. And he's like, so the latest was, of course, multi-goal games. He had a multi-goal game recently, and that put him at 44 career multi-goal games for Philip Forsberg, which puts him 20 ahead of David Legwand all time. And so I'm pulling up where Philip Forsberg sits with our Smashville stat of the week, with Philip Forsberg being the centerpiece of our Smashville stat of the week. So points, Nashville Predators history. You've got Roman Josi at 697. And you've got Forsberg at 618. With over 200 fewer games played than Roman Josi. So I think it's very fair to say that Philip Forsberg will eventually surpass Roman Josi.
He will.
For the all-time points list.
Yes, he will.
It's a matter of time.
Yep, absolutely.
But you look at some of the categories he's already leading in. We know goals. Look at this lead that he's padding for Philip Forsberg, 295. I'm actually going to put this on the screen if I can get it to work here. But Philip Forsberg is just going to continue to pad his lead of all-time goal scorers for the Predators to the point where it's going to become is anyone ever going to catch him? That's honestly how it's starting to feel about Philip Forsberg in his all-time goals leader list here. Is anyone ever going to catch Philip Forsberg in all-time goals? So let me pull it up real quick here for everyone to see on the screen for our YouTube viewers. There it is there. So you look at the list there. Philip Forsberg, 295 career goals. David Legwand at 210. Roman Josi, number 3, at 182. And then you've got no active players anywhere in the neighborhood. And we know Roman Josi is not going to ever catch Philip Forsberg in goals, obviously. So Philip Forsberg is just going to keep padding that lead of franchise all-time goal scorer to the point where who is ever going to catch him? It's definitely not a player on this current team. Would you argue that?
No, not at all.
Not Luke Evangelista, maybe?
Let's let him prove a little more first.
But you get where I'm coming at from this, right? It's
Philip Forsberg is unbelievable.
He's just, we can scroll down the list a little bit.
Yeah, that goal he had against Utah the other night was just insane.
I know, man. So scroll down the list. You see Mike Fisher, Victor Arvidsson there in the top 10, Craig Smith's in the top 10, Martin Erat, Shea Weber, who we just talked about, is number 4 on the goals list. Let's see how long it takes, everybody, to get to the next active player on the Predators. Colton Sissons, not even a goal scorer. He is the next active Preds player on the goals list with 90.
Crazy.
I'll be surprised if he reaches 100 this year. He's not a goal scorer. It kind of goes to show you that the Predators really did ship off a lot of their main goal scorers, and they really flipped this roster in the last couple of years. Tommy Novak's next up after Colton Sissons among active players with 39 goals. That's crazy. Forsberg is just going to keep padding this lead to where I don't know how anyone's ever going to catch him.
Yeah. No,
So that's our Smashville stat of the week is Philip Forsberg and his ridiculous goal lead in the franchise all-time list and how he's going to keep padding it. Crazy. All right, let's tell you about our last sponsor of the night, and that is Raycon. Raycon is, of course, the wireless earbuds, wireless technology. We've got a really awesome deal going for you right now to get you ready for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. If you're trying to get a head start on those holiday gift shopping, Raycon is there for you. Everyone needs wireless earbuds. that's a gift that can fit anybody. And I can promise you there's someone in your friend circle or your family that could use some new earbuds and some quality earbuds. With Raycon, you can get an amazing deal on premium audio every day of the year, but that doesn't mean they're not having any sales for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Far from it. They're actually doubling down on their amazing value by offering our viewers up to 30% off site-wide. You'll appreciate everyday Raycon's everyday earbuds, especially if you haven't checked out their latest model, which includes plenty of new features that make them even more of a must-have for any audio lover. For example, they now have a feature of a 32-hour battery life and multi-connectivity that lets you pair with 2 devices at once. Raycon's everyday earbuds also come with active noise cancellation. It's a feature that's a must-have for when you're on long flights or when you're at the gym trying to get a good workout in. That's when my earbuds come in best for me, is when I'm at the gym and I want to cancel out all the noise and I want to get it in the zone and I want to get a good workout in. That's when the earbuds, Raycons, can come into play for you there, among other activities you might be getting into where you need some earbuds. Because that's another thing. Although Raycon's quality rivals some of the biggest names in premium audio, Raycon start at just half the price as the other guys. So they're already an incredible deal. Even before you factor in their Black Friday and Cyber Monday offer of up to 30% off site-wide. My personal endorsement is the Raycon's affordability. I appreciate a well-made product that is still affordable. That's hard to find these days. And Raycon is there for you with quality and also affordability. Raycon's everyday earbuds are also available in a variety of vibrant colors, so you don't have to just have the standard issue white or black earbuds. You can actually go with some customizable colors. And of course, you got to go Preds colors, people. You got to do it. Wear those Preds colors. Be proud with your Raycon earbuds and your Preds colors. Now's the perfect time to scoop them up if you haven't already. And don't worry, if you're not as impressed as I am, Raycon offers a 30-day happiness guarantee, so you really can't lose. It's time to save big for Black Friday and Cyber Monday coming up. So go to buyraycon.com/THPN today to get the 30% off site-wide. That's right. You'll get up to 30% off everything on Raycon's website when you go to buyraycon.com/THPN. So real quick, before we get into the final segment, really quick of updating our listeners on the Milwaukee Admirals, I saw this crazy thing from NHL Watcher. I don't know if you've ever come across them, Max, on X. Do you know where I'm going with this?
Is it about coaching?
Yes. And let's just touch on it briefly. I know we started late and it's getting late, but real quick. This whole Andrew Burnett on the hot seat stuff is just kind of ridiculous. I think it's just clickbait fodder at this point. I don't know about you, but I don't think his seat is even moderately warm at this point. Could be wrong.
I'm not going to look, if there's one thing I've learned, watching sports over the years, it's, to not completely ignore things. And I would say, Eastwood should worry a little bit. At the same time, though, I don't think Burnett's going anywhere. I just don't think Trot's getting rid of him that easily. He handpicked him as the head coach. And from his comments, I'm pretty sure. I think he came into the year knowing, pretty damn sure he had his coach. And from Trot's comments, I think he thinks it's the players and not Burnett. And I'm with you, Chad. I don't see it happening. I could be wrong. I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I don't see it happening either. At least not this season. I don't care how bad it gets. It could possibly get. I just don't really think that Burnett's the first to go, and I don't think, even though he deserves plenty of criticism, he's in his second year coaching this team. He is a Preds alum. He's in high regard of Barry Trotz. It's his first coaching hire as general manager,
which he took a month. He dragged out the process. He did it thoroughly. I just don't see him getting rid of the guy he clearly handpicked, just like that. Especially, I feel like the only way that could happen if Trotz just knows that Burnett's the reason that this team isn't good, and it's just not that simple with the Preds.
Yeah, I don't know what it would solve unless you're literally throwing in the towel in
Yeah.
the season.
I don't see it being a
So
problem.
here, I skipped over it. So this is from yesterday, NHL Watcher. Put it on the screen real quick for everybody, and then we're going to hit our last segment of the episode. But want to share it because this really caught my eye when I was scrolling through here. So NHL Watcher on X puts up here Quenneville to Boston, who has Jim Montgomery, and he puts Jim Montgomery to Nashville. That's my prediction. So that means that Boston would have to fire Montgomery, and then Nashville would have to fire Brunette. Montgomery goes to Nashville. Quenneville goes to Boston. That's a hot take if I've ever seen one.
Doesn't that kind of reek of the John Hines hire? I mean, not totally, but like that would kind of be similar.
I don't even think I see Boston firing Montgomery.
Yeah. I mean, that takes a lot. So who the hell knows?
But hey, I mean, you do a bold prediction like that, fair enough. But anyway, that caught my eye. So with that said, let's end episode 251 here, Max. With I got the dog barking in the background if you hear it.
I hear her.
But let's hit it really quick. Preds or the Milwaukee Admirals are 9-2 on the season. First place in their division with 18 points. And they're doing it on the back of some ridiculously stellar goaltending, Max. You got Magnus Krona, who was acquired in the Yaroslav Askarov trade. He's putting up crazy numbers. I'm going to have to close this episode soon. Sorry, Admirals fans. Krona, 4-1 on the season, 1.40 goals against average, and a .953 save percentage, Max.
Who needs Askarov, right? Okay, I'm not going to go there too much. I was just yeah.
1.40 goals against average is crazy, but also his goalie partner, Matthew Murray, 6 games, 5-1, 1.83 goals against average, and a .941 save percentage. So it looks like the Preds factory of great goaltenders continues.
Yeah, I mean, Smashville goaltending powerhouse. What can you say?
So good stuff there very early in the season. And how about a newcomer to the Preds, Milwaukee Admirals? I don't even know if I'd call him a prospect anymore because he has played in the NHL, but he's definitely a new name. You've got Vinny Hinestroza, which I don't even know a lot about him. I had to really look him up, but he is leading the Admirals in points right now with 5 goals and 12 assists. He was signed as a two-way player this past offseason. So learn that name, Vinny Hinestroza. He has played in the NHL previously, most recently for the Penguins. You've got Joachim Kimmel next up on the points leader list for the Admirals with 4 goals, 5 assists. Reed Schaefer, we've heard a lot about Reed Schaefer. He's got 7 goals for the Admirals so far. But right now, the Admirals are definitely getting their success from outstanding, epic goaltending.
And we'll just wait till Fedor Svechkov comes back.
Yes. But you look at some of the defensemen, they're not chipping in as much as you would like. Ryan Ufko, I think, only has 1 point through 11 games. But again, the Admirals as a team are looking really good. So, guys, we got to get out of here. The dog's freaking out. You can probably hear her barking and whining. I got to listen to the dog. She's my child. So, everyone, thank you for watching episode 251 of Catfish on Ice. Take care, everybody. I'm going to go take care of the dog. We'll see you later this week.
See you guys.